What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about that Square Enix AI story. Obviously, a few days late, I thought this would be fun for the Saturday, Podcast Now Plus video, and just try to talk a little bit more nuanced about it. Now, look, I have always kind of said that I've been relatively against it, right? There is, I think, a way of AI working, with us rather than, against us, or more realistically, replacing us, right? That's always been my biggest thing, is let's not replace the humans that we have on this planet with, like, things that are machines. Like, can we not do that? We've already done that enough historically, so let's just stop, especially when they become smarter than us and all that jazz. But, look, the way Square Enix is going about it, you can either do it right or you could do it wrong. So they talk about it as, hey, short term, we're going all in. We're really going to make this stuff cutting edge. And then in terms of long term, they talk about it very futuristically, right? That, long term, they're going to be using that technology to continue to do cutting edge stuff, but stuff that you've never seen before and just all this new kind of stuff. Whatever. Ultimately, are you going to use AI to complement the developers, or are you going to make AI replace developers? And honestly, at least in this case, right, you can have a bigger talk about AI just in civilization, but in the gaming industry case, to make it, smaller and simpler, it really is just that. Can AI be used to make life easier for developers? Because that's where it can be used right. And look, if we're gonna do this push of AI, can we please do it with that? Where, hey, games take forever to make, right? I've been complaining about it for a while. It's becoming an issue. It costs a lot of money to make games. It takes a lot of time to make games. Can we shorten that? Can we make games go back? Now, you can shorten the games themselves, but you could also make games, say, at the length that we're currently making them, but can you shave off a year or two of development? Because then you're just going to get games faster. Well, can you make AI do more of the tedious stuff for developers, letting the developers focus more in on specific... See, if done right, you don't really have to ever get rid of people, right? Now, obviously, if they are failing your company or if they need to go, right, there would still be reasons to, terminate employees. But for the most part, literally, if everybody's just, say, doing their job. So there would really not be a reason, if AI is done well, to get rid of any developers. There's just so much more they could do. They could look over what the AI has done. They could focus more in on a specific thing that's maybe been overlooked in gaming for a long time. I think to maybe the EA sports games, right? So NHL, Madden, the crowd has never changed, right? Their faces. Well, maybe if AI is doing some menial, tedious task on the side, maybe you can focus on the face models of the crowd, whereas you've always just left it and just copied and paste every single year going forward. You could just do that, right? So that's, although I'm not a fan, I've said it time and time again, not a fan of AI. I think it absolutely can be done right. And when it's functioning at its best, you simply have developers that are able to do more or able to focus on something that they weren't able to focus on or whatever, and you'd be able to get things out faster. Ultimately, more creative pieces of work, right, coming out to the consumers, us, who still have to support these things. So that's it done at its best. At its worst, you get rid of people. Now, why am I saying all this stuff? Well, when it comes to, at least right now, what we kind of hear from the big stories on the internet, it seems like AI is always implemented terribly, right? You'll see things like the Golem, and that was definitely the apology for Golem. That was definitely written by AI. A lot of these big stories of AI in this medium have been negative. You have even things like, well, when a site lays off a bunch of its employees, I think maybe, is it the parent company of Kotaku or something? There was an example in the gaming industry space, but I don't think it was a game journalist website, but they laid off a bunch of people and they want basically AI to write the article. So those things are the ones that make the headlines, right? And those things look bad because they are bad. Ultimately, that would, going into Square Enix here, that'd be like firing half the team and just making AI do half the work when AI has, it maybe can do it, but you don't know how to actually use it right, so it ends up being a catastrophe, right? That, at its core, is it. That's the simplest thing. If Square Enix is going to do this, I pray to God that they're going to do it the right way, because if they don't do it the right way, and this is the thing with the gaming industry, you can't mess up this badly without severe consequence, right? You might have somebody to save you, I guess, if you're Square Enix, but generally you don't want to have this kind of mess up, because All it takes is you do this a couple different times with a couple big games. Everybody notices it. The game quality massively suffers. The game doesn't sell, and Square Enix is in so much financial trouble, which again, for Square Enix, the easy result is they get bought. You know, they just sell. But not everybody can make that kind of mistake. So I guess Square Enix is going to kind of lead the way in that regard. But that's it. You know, you don't have the option to mess up, you know, this bad. So I hope when you introduce AI, you're doing it to help the developers, not to do it and then say, well, we're going to kind of cut, you know, we need to lay off 10% of the workforce anyway. We'll just replace that. And so far, that seems to be kind of what people are doing. And that's what scares me about how Square Enix talks about it, right? They talk about the short term, going all in, cutting edge, all that stuff. Then they talk about the long term. Well, if that's just fancy talk for, hey, in the short term, we need to save a little bit of money. So we're going to get rid of people, and we're going to replace them with AI. That is a short-term strategy, and people have been doing that. Is that going to work? I highly doubt it. I highly, highly doubt that is going to work. When you already have trouble making games I really like Square Enix, like, overall, but they have trouble selling sometimes, and sometimes they have misses, like, with Forspoken and stuff, like, you know, and many more than just Forspoken. They need to be on their game, at least over the next little while, to kind of make up for the last uneven period of their company. And introducing something so intense as AI, I don't know if it's going to work. So we'll see. We'll have to monitor it for sure. Ultimately, they're going to get bought. I mean, we've said that, like, you know, Sega, Square Enix, Ubisoft, a lot of these in the next 5 years, by 5 years, they'll all be bought. You know, it's going to happen. It's just which year do you want to kind of like pencil it in for? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.